Hey, what's going on, guys? FlynnMasters coming at you with another chef ranking video. As today, I'll be ranking the chefs of season 12 from my least to favorite. And this will be fun as it's a massive cast, but I generally love all the cast besides like two people. And while there's some other forgettable chefs here and there, pretty much everyone adds something to this iconic season. The only true dud this season, personality and cooking wise though, comes in at number 20, and that is Nicole. And I've said before, she acted like she could have cared less to be there, was an awful chef, and then had the audacity to tell Ramsay to kiss her ass for being justifiably eliminated. I mean, just nothing good about Nicole. Onto a chef very similar to Nicole and Mike. I mean, he literally got under Ramsay's skin 20 minutes into the season with his awful center dish, and again, had the audacity to get mad at Ramsay for, not accepting a dish that was basically entirely pre-made, like that was a joke. And while he did get better afterwards, like his episodes 3 and 4 were awful, again, seemed not to care about his mistakes and caused literally one of the biggest fights in Hell's Kitchen history in episode 3. And episode 4 is an all-time bad episode from him, cost his team the challenge, and still talked crap to his teammates despite this. Didn't show any respect to his teammates or Ramsay when he left. Again, not as bad as Nicole, but I mean, just a fraction of a bit better. At number 18 is Beth, who I have nothing too much against and isn't that forgettable, but I mean, her constant crying was pretty annoying. Like she got her backstory about her upbringing, and but I just did not connect her whatsoever. It felt so fake and pathetic to me. I feel bad to say that, but she did kind of seem like Danielle from season 11, and just like just talking about how hard everything is and cried about it instead of trying to get better. So I mean, I don't hate her by any means, but she does land here, obviously relatively low here. At number 18, we have now probably the most forgettable chef of the season to talk about now in Bev. And again, obviously nothing too noteworthy about her, other than I do feel bad that Jessica threw her under the bus. And, I do respect her for being rightfully pissed about it. And it's always funny to imagine, her not giving an absolute damn about Jessica's elimination compared to everyone else who was crying about it. But yeah, other than that, arguably the most forgettable chef of the season. At number 16 is Simone, kind of an interesting character as she's not really a donkey, but like at the same time just seemed really lost at times. You felt bad when she got sick, but compared to Rochelle who battled through it, it made her look bad. Obviously her elimination is interesting as it seemed like, either Mike or DeMarco was about to go home, only for her to quit at the last second, which Ramsay obviously didn't mind. So again, like, there's not much with Simone, but at the same time, like, it feels like there is. Like, I guess if it's because, like, she was, like, a big part of, obviously, the infamous first 3 service train wreck. And, her quitting at the last second was a fitting end to that. So at the end of the day, I think 16 is a good spot for her. On to the other very forgettable chef this season, and Chris. And I guess to me, Chris is a bit more noteworthy as he was a very surprising early boot, as he seemed like such a front runner on paper. Was right in the middle of that Tremec pizza night service that was hilarious. But nonetheless, was still Scott's boy and his number 1 overall pick despite being the earliest boot to come back, so that was cool. So, I mean, not much, but it seemed like a nice enough guy with enough moments sprinkled here and there, which is why he lands here at number 15. At number 14 is Ralph, and I'll be straight up, I probably need to rewatch the season when it comes to Ralph because I remember distinctly not liking him, or at the very least kind of finding him annoying. Like, I did not feel bad for Gabriel screwing him over whatsoever. So I don't know. Maybe if I rewatch the season again, I'd have him higher. But I just don't remember anything positive about him, and just mostly remember him just kind of annoying me. So as of now, I think 14 is a good spot for him. At number 13 is one of the more interesting early boots in the show's history, with that being DeMarco. And again, his 5 nominations to open the season will never be topped. But at the same time, you did want to root for the poor guy, as yeah, he wasn't great, but man, the blue team never really took him seriously, even when he had his injury. And I would have been interested to see him possibly pull off an incredible underdog run. Like, obviously, he was never making it, probably past the top 10. But it would have been cool to see him, maybe get to the Cook for Your Life challenge or something like that. It's just a shame that one silly mistake during a breakfast service got him sent home after, after his very interesting start to the season. So, yeah, passionate chef who, bless his soul, just couldn't literally not get his feet off the ground, which is why he lands here at number 13. At number 12 is the first boot of the season in Gorov, one of the better first boots in Hell's Kitchen, as he had some really funny confessionals, and say what you will about his service, but him being so flabbergasted about Ramsay, being upset that he put his fingers in the risotto is absolutely hilarious, even though it is obviously disgusting. But despite that disgusting mistake, at least he cared, unlike Nicole, and should have been given a second chance over her. So yeah, a very fun and good first boot. And you know, it was a good should have definitely been given a second chance. And it was a good first boot to represent this great season. We now have a trio of chefs that might be pretty high for most people, but I do respect what they added to the season. With number 11 and Joy simply being an iconic character in the show's history with their quit. And again, say what you will about it, but it's literally behind Joseph in my opinion in terms of shocking Hell's Kitchen moments. Again, I obviously don't condone the way she treated, you know, the likes of Scott, Anton, and especially Rochelle to protect Keisha. But at the same time, like I said, I respect her run this season from breaking down in the premiere to dominating the entire rest of the season, only for her to quit over a fish. Like, it truly is quite an interesting run. You know, say what you will about it, but you know, she is definitely one of the more polarizing figures in the show's history, which is why she's in the middle of my list here at number 11. At number 10 is the 10th place finisher in Sandra, and there's a reason why she's right in the middle, as early on she was super annoying, literally making fun of Joy for crying, but had a nice face turn at the end there. Again, nothing too notable other than her getting mad at the red team's decision to nominate Rochelle. So you know, she had a lot of fight in her, both good and bad. So again, just kind of a figure who had some good moments, some bad moments, which is why she's, you know, I feel like the middle spot at number 10 here is a good spot for her. On to probably my most controversial placement, with that being Anton. And again, this is where the negativity from a chef might not always be a bad thing, because with Anton especially, his bad moments made for such great TV. Like, yeah, it's pathetic he's blaming Scott for literally everything, but at a certain point it gets comical, like when he falls down and blames Scott for it. You know, yeah, he calls sous chef Andy a little girl, but that only led to Andy having one of her best moments and just going absolutely off on him. He literally calls himself the winner of Hell's Kitchen after getting eliminated. You know, again, and this is all from a chef who seemed absolutely poised to dominate the season early on. I mean, his downfall truly was something. In my opinion, the most notable downfall in Hell's Kitchen history. So like I said, I'm not condoning the things he said or how he acted at times, but even the biggest Anton haters cannot deny the impact he had on this all-time great season, which is why he's very high for me compared to most people, I'm sure, at number 9. At number 8 is a chef who had the saddest exit in the show's history, with that, of course, being Jessica. And I'll be blunt, that's the main reason why she's this high. But man, it is so brutal, especially considering this was the first ever elimination challenge ever, and it just so happened to come after her worst service of the season. Like, you talk about some insane, unfortunate timing for her. My God, what are the odds? You know, and she seemed like a fine enough person and chef. So, you know, so I had to pay my respects for her and put her with a relatively high placement. At number 7 is the best older chef in Hell's Kitchen history, with that being Richard. And I remember very clearly thinking Richard was going to be another Ray type figure, but in reality, he was just super funny and chill. Exactly what I want from an older chef. You know, speaking of Jessica, he also got unfairly put up for that challenge simply due to his age and, you know, his weight. Only for him and Jason to be the only chefs not to mess up the volume service, which was freaking awesome. You know, he possibly could have been a black jacket had it not been for his age. So, you know, just a really overall fun character and figure this season. And in my opinion, the best older chef in Hell's Kitchen history. And we got one more controversial placement here, as I mentioned her a couple times already, but that is Keisha. And take what I said about Anton and put it here for Keisha. Like, yeah, she could be annoying and over the top at times, but oh my God, she just made for incredible TV. And is such a key character of the season. Between her up and down run, her Nedra-esque outburst, her getting frustrated, it's all just so amazing to me. You know, if she just wasn't a bit too over the top at times and annoying, like, she would be higher even, but nonetheless, I really do appreciate what Keisha added to this season. On to the top 5 now, and at number 5 is Melanie. And I know she also has some haters, like especially when she chose Keisha and Joy's side to nominate Rochelle. But to me, that just made for a funny following episode when Keisha just went off on her. And the rivalry in general is fun, especially considering that, again, Melanie basically did it to herself to make her life a lot worse in Hell's Kitchen. You know, some people say she was cocky. I mean, maybe. But again, given her archetype, you would not expect like this 24-year-old pretty girl to be like the unofficial leader of chefs who are, you know, of the red team. Some of this red team is like almost 20 years, if not 20 years older than her, you know? I always respected that. She was obviously a damn good chef. So while not as good as while not as good of a personality as some of the chefs below her, between her great third place run and just nothing really bad about her to me, she's able to get her way and she's able to get into my top 5. At number 4 is the runner-up of the season and Jason. And it's funny, he seemed for sure he would be a fiery chef early on when he was going off on the likes of Mike and Sandra, who to be fair, both deserved it. But, you know, and that arguably made Jason even more of a fan favorite, and, you know, to me as well. But again, after that, he put his head down and got to work, had a really fun final 2 run, a really good final 2 run. Which, you know, and that's the thing. It was so cool to see him make the most of a second chance, you know. Also, as a fellow Paul hater, you know, he was hating on Paul before it was cool, so that was really funny. So yeah, I mean, I've said this before. I'm so glad he got a second chance and was on a key figure of this season compared to, you know, what he would have had to deal with in season 9. Hey, maybe he would have went off on Elise and been like the biggest legend in the history of the show, but safe to say, Jason had a damn good run in season 12. At number 3 is someone who I'll always defend till I die, with that being Gabriel. And again, Gabriel represents everything I love about this season, and that is Chef, who was right in the middle of that first 3 service train wreck, and it was laughable to think of him even getting past like 12th place, for example, to damn near to. At number 3 is someone who I always defend till I die, with that being Gabriel. And again, Gabriel represents everything I love about this season, and that is Chef, who was right in the middle of those first 3 services, and it was laughable to think of him even getting past 12th place, you know, to damn near earning a black jacket, and made it farther than the likes of Jessica, Ralph, and especially Anton. Just insane stuff. You know, again, I always found it funny when he screwed over Ralph. His ejection is one of the more iconic moments of this iconic season. So yeah, I'll always love Gabriel. Again, he's a perfect representation of this season. Now into the top 2, and the runner-up on my list is the winner of the season and Scott. And again, he's the comeback chef. His story from seemingly mid-game boot to winning the season in dominant fashion and going down as Hell's Kitchen's greatest leader is simply insane, especially considering all the BS he had to go through this season as well, with the likes of Anton and Joy not taking him seriously, all his ups and downs. Like, despite all of his ups and downs, he never stopped taking risk, and most importantly, he was always positive and himself, to not only himself but to his teammates who hated him as well. You know, just so much to like about Scott, and he's my second favorite winner in Hell's Kitchen history for a reason. But despite all of that, there's a chef this season I love even more than Scott somehow, with that being Rochelle. And she makes Scott look like Elise. I mean, my God, how is it possible for someone to be that positive and bubbly in Hell's Kitchen is beyond me. I mean, even Petroza got pissed off and cursed from time to time. Rochelle was just always smiling, and, you know, made me smile every time she was on screen. Not to mention that she was a badass in the kitchen as well. Just an all-time favorite chef of mine. So there you have it, guys. My ranking of all 20 chefs from season 12 of Hell's Kitchen. Maybe a controversial list, so let me know what you guys agree and disagree with in the comments below. And be sure to hit that subscribe and like button to support this series. And with all that said, take care everyone, and I'll see you next time.